But I don't see the hubris-filled establishment backing off. So I see this playing out with a lot of fireworks. And I agree with you. The evidence of Geithner chewing the carpet, blowing up, screaming at Bernanke, other evidence coming out shows that all is not well in Camelot, and that the pit they dug for us is going to enfold them. And lastly, it's clear, and now they're even starting to admit this, that they're creating a depression on Main Street as they pump out all these fiat dollars to pay off their derivatives debts, and that they're paying banks not to loan, because if a banks did loan, we'd have inflation. So instead, you literally have the elite being able to buy everything up, we pay the interest on giving them the money, and then we get to live in a depression. So I want your take on that when we get back, and we're going to phone calls at 1-800-259-9231. Pentagon wants authority to post 400,000 military personnel in the U.S. This is official congressional report. I mean, that's just off the chart. And the troops are training for martial law drills, mainstream news. We're going to go over that, too. Big hour and 40 minutes left. Stay with us. Bob, I catch myself pinching myself like I'm in a dream. To have mainstream news reporting they're doing martial law drills, how to lock down cities, how to forcibly inoculate people. The Pentagon now wants 400,000 to deal with emergencies, terrorism, and insurrection. I mean, there's no doubt they're going to completely turn into a total Red Dawn armed camp with checkpoints. And, I mean, this is tyranny. The government is totally rogue and criminal. Doesn't matter what administration. But Governors Association, according to the Hill newspaper, have sent a letter to them saying this is a takeover. We're concerned. Your federal power grab. You know, the Pentagon doing this. We've got Congressman Brown telling the Louisville newspaper that they may want to use, and that, quote, the elite want to use the flu pandemic. They may stage it as a pretext for martial law. I mean, Bob Chapman, it's the stuff we were talking about years ago is now becoming mainstream. I'd say our movement is 50 times bigger, conservatively, than it was in the mid-1990s when the feds bombed themselves to play the part of victims. I don't see an Oklahoma City or something, or even a staged mass shooting they staged to blame us. I don't see that working. We've done our job exposing the globalists. I mean, we're still got a long way to go here, but I think we have irrevocably damaged the New World Order.
And I agree. And we've talked about this in the past several weeks. And the Internet and the broadcasting that we've been able to get out has forced their hand. And they're going to have to try to go for it here, because what they're doing financially and economically is blowing up on them. I figure that by the Chinese selling U.S. dollar-denominated assets and not buying U.S.-denominated assets has had to have made the Fed secretly this year purchase somewhere between $500 billion and $800 billion worth of Treasury and GSE paper, which is Fannie, Freddie, and Ginnie, and that's what they're up to.
Well, no, they admitted to Congress they bought it, but they wouldn't say how much.
No, that was another program that was announced. That program there, this is beside that program. That program there was $300 billion in Treasuries, $600 billion in GSEs, and $1.2 trillion in CDOs.
Yeah, and then I saw Bernanke. Then I saw Bernanke at a town hall meeting say he's not monetizing. I mean, that's like him going on TV and saying dollars aren't green.
Well, they all lie. It's part of the sociopathic and psychopathic mind trail of what we're dealing with here. I mean, we're dealing with a bunch of Caligulas, hundreds of them. I mean, these people are really insane.
What do you think about the fact that they first demonized 3 weeks ago, and I told you it was going to be big news, folks. I can see these trends. And I make that point so people pay attention to what we're saying here. We know what we're talking about. First, they said it was all fake. Now they've had to apologize and say, okay, it wasn't fake. So see how they arrogantly tried to say it was fake, and I said 2 weeks ago, Bob said 2 weeks ago, that was going to blow up only bigger. Now they've done the smart thing and apologized, but too little, too late, Bob.
Yeah, we just got to continue the steamroller. People have got to continue to be outspoken, like you saw at the town hall meetings, like at the tea parties, the promulgation of a movement by Ron Paul. It's got to get bigger and better. We have to drive them crazy. We have to get in their face. And if we don't do that, we may end up fighting in the streets. And so we've got to do it. We've got to show them that we're not going to back down. That we've got to show them how powerful we can be. And we have to tell the military, you're our guys. We want to be with you. We don't want to be against you. And so get it together. The government is giving you unlawful orders. And that's exactly what that is. It's in violation of posse comitatus, and they know it. The military people know it.
Well, they certainly do. I mean, a year and a half ago, 70+% of the campaign donations were to Ron Paul for the military. But I guess that's why they're trying to get rid of all the citizens and hire felons and illegal aliens. All right, we're going to go right to your phone calls. D. Jeff, Inger, John, Dave, and others. 1-800-259-9231. Have your question and comment ready. We'll go right to you on the other side of this break. And, Bob, you ready to take some calls?
I sure am.
Awesome. Let's go ahead and talk to Dee in Arizona. Dee, you're on the air.
Hi, Alex. How are you? This is Deetra in Tempe. I have a question for you two gentlemen. But first, I wanted to thank you. You guys are doing a great job getting all the information out. It's just I wish more people would wake up. It's frustrating to see people around you just walking around in a daze, you know. My question is, I understand that, we're supposed to be the people and they're supposed to take our votes and get our opinions and things like that. And obviously that's not happening. You don't have to be a genius to see that. But what happened to, making citizens arrests and impeaching people from Congress and actually, getting them out of office and getting people in there who can do something? Who's in charge?
Let me comment on that, Dee, and then we'll get your comeback after Bob comments. Briefly, this is a whole issue. The states are constituted by the people, so under state law, they can create incorporated cities and counties. The people. You can go out to the middle of nowhere, start your own city, and then you can hire cops, and then they can go out and give people tickets. But if you do something outside of the law, you get the book thrown at you. Instead, the government breaks the law and doesn't get in trouble because they're engaging in corruption. Citizens' arrest was a lot of towns, even towns that might have had a couple thousand people in them, would have one sheriff, maybe two deputies for 1,000 or more people. But then the sheriff had auxiliary deputies, upstanding members of the community who weren't corrupt, who, if they saw a problem, they would do something. Or even if you weren't, if you saw somebody robbing, you'd go over and conk them on the head if they resisted and citizens' arrest. But the government demonizes that because they want a monopoly of power and force. And so that's why in England, where the citizens' arrest started under the common law, Magna Carta, they try to demonize people defending, their rights. And if you even punch somebody robbing your house, they arrest you. So they have slowly taught us that we don't have rights. That's why it's important people wear guns in open and have demonstrations doing that, showing people we still have a Second Amendment, because people think guns are illegal in your house now because the TV told them. It's all lies. People think it's the law, you got to take vaccines. We're showing the world it's not the law. We're exposing the hoax, the mind trick. Bob Chapman.
Alex, I can't add much to that because you've covered it all. I think the bottom line is it's very difficult to try to use citizens' arrest today, and you could get yourself in trouble by doing so because of the distortion of law.
Well, who can do something? I mean, just like, I don't know, maybe you guys remember back, I think it was in 2007, Cynthia McKinney was going through the records and, mentioned that there was, $3 trillion missing. and then it just stopped, you know, and that's what happens. I mean, people say something and they object, and then that's the end of it, and then we move on to the next thing to object.
Exactly. That's what tyrants and thugs do. Is once they've trained you to accept corruption, the sky's the limit. Thank you, D. It was $2 trillion when Bush got into office. It was over $5 trillion by the time he left. The Pentagon gets up before Congress and says, we're not telling you where the money is. And they literally laugh at Congress. Folks, that's why they've stolen 23.7 in banking the last 10 months. Why not? Why not steal $100 trillion? Why not steal $50 trillion? Why not steal a quadrillion? They don't care. They are going for broke. And what concerns me the most is now they're acting like nothing's going to be left. They're just grabbing, stealing, and then leaving the country. Bob Chapman.